Okay, so for this video, we're just going to look at how you can bring objects into the game and then destroy them. So fairly straightforward stuff, but you're going to use this all the time. So if we go into the code here, what you're going to need is a reference to an object. So this is the thing that you're going to spawn in. It's going to be a prefab somewhere in your folder. So once you've got that, you can drag and drop an object into there. Then you're just going to write the word instantiate, and then you're going to specify that prefab. So this is the thing that you are creating copies of. So you could technically write this a few times, and it's just going to spawn that same thing 3 times. But we're just going to spawn it once just for the example here. So if I go in and I hit play, you'll see that we'll get an error because basically there's nothing assigned here. So I actually have to tell it which object I want to spawn. So you can drag and drop from anywhere in your asset folders. And here it has something it knows to spawn, so it's going to create a copy of that now. So you'll see it was brought into the scene. It has this little brackets with clone, which means it's a copy. So it's something that was instantiated. Now if we go back here, this clone of prefab is empty. So that's important. Later on, we're going to save it so that once it's brought in, we basically have a reference of that copy as well. So we know where that copy is and we can access components or destroy it or whatever we want to do. So there is one other way that's pretty common in order to kind of get a reference to that object. So that's the resources.load, which we'll look at here. So instead of dragging and dropping, we're going to put that object in a very specific folder, and then we're going to basically pull it out of that folder just by the name. So we still have this prefab variable, but we're going to set it equal to a game object based on that folder. So we're going to say resources.load. We're going to make sure it's the type game object. And then we're going to specify the blue cube. So make sure the spelling on that is the same, and make sure your resources folder is typed out correctly. So this is what that is going to look like. On the bottom left-hand side there, you can see the word resources. So it's a very specific folder. Unity is actually going to look for this. If it's spelled different, it's not going to work. And same thing with the assets inside of there. It has to be spelled correctly when you're calling that function. So here I just put the blue cube in. And if we go back to our directional, I'm going to just null that out. And this time it's going to find it based off it being in here. So at resource load, it brought that in, and then it spawned the copy there. Okay, so usually you're not just going to call instantiate on its own like this. Problem with that is you're bringing an object into the game, but you don't know, you're not able to modify it once it's in without having to go through the process of finding it. So then you'd have to maybe put a tag on it, look for it with that. Most commonly, what you're going to do is you're going to save a reference. So you're going to say, in this case, I've just done a single public variable. Sometimes this might be a dictionary or a list of objects that you're going to put it into. So you'll be able to do that all in one shot. So you're going to set it, you're going to instantiate it, and at the same time, you're setting that copy equal to the reference. So this is going to do the two things. It's going to bring it in and it's going to save where it is. So now you can access it, you can change things about it. So if we go back into the game and we hit play, now you'll see both those fields are going to be filled in. So it actually saved the clone there. So this one here was just brought in on its own. We don't have any way of accessing that, but this one here we have a reference to. So we could move that, we can destroy it, we can do whatever we want to it. Now sometimes you're not just going to want to bring it into the center of the screen. So you can actually add some parameters in here as well. And to do that, you're just going to add, so you start out with the game object, and then you specify the vector 3 where you want it to start, and then you specify a rotation. So it might be a new position and rotation just like I've done here, or usually you're going to grab it from the transform of an existing object. So let's say you have a portal, enemies are coming out of the portal. You're probably going to want to spawn those enemies at the same position as the portal and the same rotation. So they kind of come out at the right angle, at the right spot. So we can do that as well. And the last thing we're going to do here is just destroy. So now that we have that reference, we can destroy. We know the object that we're trying to destroy, whereas this one's going to be a little harder to destroy because we have to actually find it again. So we're not going to destroy that one. We will destroy the one that we spawned down here. And we're just going to do that by pressing the 1 key. So if we go into the game, hit play one more time, It's going to spawn a couple of objects. You'll see this one's filled in here. So this is actually the one that's going to get destroyed because I said destroyed this one. So if I press the 1 key in the game, it is going to remove it. So now there's only 2 cubes. That one was removed, and you can see it's missing this game object now. So that one was destroyed. So just some basic stuff, how you can bring game objects into the game after it started running, and how you can destroy it, how you can, save a reference to it so that you can change things about it, and just accessing that resource folder.